Hello, this is Dean and welcome to today's video. I'd like to show you how to replace that worn or broken starter rope on a Husqvarna 455 Rancher. So let's get after it. To remove the pull starter cover, you may either use a flat screwdriver or a 4mm wrench or socket to remove the four corner cover bolts. Now you're probably watching this video because your cord is broken. Mine needs replacing, but the principle will be the same. I aim to show you how the factory cord is wrapped and how many revolutions of the spring tension take-up reel it takes to replace the cord. I'll also show you how to compress the recoil spring and a nifty little trick to lock down the take-up reel while replacing the starter cord. Turn the cover over to reveal the pull cord and the spring-loaded reel in the center. As you can see, the reel is put under pressure by turning it clockwise and the tension is released counterclockwise. Now for this project, we need not remove the center Allen screw because doing so would release the recoil spring. We're going to use this notch on the edge of the reel and a piece of painter's tape as a register. With the cord in its normal resting state, I'm placing the painter's tape in a position where I can align an arrow so I can count the revolutions of the reel when it turns. Now when I cut the cord and gently release the tension, I'll be able to count the times the notch passes the arrow to determine how much I need to wind the reel after the new cord is installed and before I install the pull handle. Now while wearing your wife's garden gloves, hold the reel tightly in place while cutting the starter cord. Carefully begin to release the tension on the reel while counting the number of times the notch passes the mark on the painter's tape. In my case, 1 1/2 revolutions. This represents the pressure on the spring at rest, and this will be important to us later on. Remove the knot from the pull cord handle. Now we chose to cut the knot so that we could maintain control over the exact revolutions the reel turns before the cord comes out in the next step. By doing it this way, we can once again count the number of times the notch passes the painter's tape mark. So now watch and count along with us as you see the notch pass by our taped register arrow. Now the pressure is increasing, so firmly grasp the take-up reel. The cord is pulled out in line with the Phillips screw at my right thumb. Carefully release the spring tension once again. Now if you're not replacing the cord with a factory cord, be sure and purchase one that's nylon based. Secondly, don't purchase a thicker cord than you had before. Why? Because a thicker cord will mean you'll have a shorter pull because you can't get as many revolutions of a thicker cord on the reel. Now if the old cord is simply broken, measure out 36 inches of new cord and cut it. Now other Husqvarna videos show you how to wind the cord around the outer edge of the reel, but the Model 455 has this collar to contend with, and the cord won't fit between the reel and the collar. And we don't want to have to remove the reel and risk unwinding the underlying spring. Unfortunately, this spring needs to be compressed before threading the cord, and we don't want to have to hold that pressure the entire time. So what do we want to do? Well, let me show you what I did. See this Phillips screw? I'm going to remove just this one screw on the take-up reel brace. Now I found a metal strip with a hole in one end and bent and curled the other end on my vise. That curl on the strip was just the right width to squeeze it into the reel space where the cord is wrapped. Place tension on the reel by hand turning it clockwise 4 revolutions as measured by the notch on the reel passing by the arrow on the tape. Now I went about 1/2 revolutions further to allow easier access to the rope hole in the reel making a total of 4 1/2 revolutions. Once I inserted the metal strip, I reapplied the Phillips screw, thereby holding the tension on the reel and holding the take-up reel in place. So now I can release the take-up reel and take my time as I thread in the new cord. Now, because my cord wasn't broken, I used the old cord as a model. I measured it against the new cord and left approximately 3 extra inches at each end of the new cord. Because the new cord is nylon, I can safely apply some heat to the ends to alleviate the fraying that comes from cutting the cord. This heat causes the nylon to melt and become pliable, and once heat is applied, I take a pair of pliers and press the end of the cord into a point for easier threading in this next step. Now, full disclosure, it took me several attempts to get this threaded, plus a slight enlargement of the hole in the take-up reel. Finally, I pressed in on the cord using this eyeglass screwdriver while pulling out the end with some very small jeweler's pliers. Now, this step caused some additional cord fraying, but that's okay because I simply remelted it once again. Tie a small knot onto the end of the cord and use your pliers to assist you in pulling this tight. I ended up tying 2 knots on the end since I enlarged the take-up reel hole just a little bit. Now melt the end of the knot and test the knot by pulling it tightly. If it's going to fail, after all, you want it to fail right now. While holding tension on the new cord, remove the Phillips screw holding down your metal strip. Carefully release the pressure on the cord. In our case, by the time filming began, the reel has already turned backwards 1/2 turn, but continue to count with us as the reel notch passes our tape mark, 4 1/2 revolutions. Once all the revolutions are complete, you'll know that it was back in its resting position, so you can thread the other end of the cord through the hole in the case. Now, don't forget to replace the Phillips screw in the brace of the take-up reel. Thread the loose end of the cord through the handle. Now, we pull out the cord 1 1/2 revolutions of the reel to match the pressure on the spring that was released when we originally cut the cord, remember? Tie a knot near the handle, making a small allowance for the cord it will take to pull the knot down inside the handle. Now we want to vigorously tug on the cord a few times, and then check our alignment of our mark against the reel notch, making adjustments if necessary. If it's close, go ahead and pull some cord back out of the handle and make a second knot below the first. And then use your flame to melt it in place. Cut the cord to length. Now note how the spring pressure keeps the handle tight against the case. Set the cover back in place. And before tightening the 4 corner screws, give the handle a few slight pulls to properly seat the take-up reel onto the flywheel underneath. Tighten the 4 corner screws using light torque, and this project is complete. Well, I hope you picked up a few tips and tricks from watching today's video. And remember, if you'd like to see all my videos, you can search YouTube for Pilot View Productions, or simply subscribe by clicking on my face in the upper right near the end of this video.